Not all vampires drink blood. Some drain your energy, your hope, your light. Have you ever left a conversation feeling heavy, tired, or empty? There are those who live by the light and those who feed off of it. Of course, every soul carries light, but not every soul knows how to tend to their own flame. Some take from others to keep their fire burning, and they call them energy vampires. Welcome to the new Ashla Podcast. Joining me today is not Michael. I have a very special guest joining me today. You may remember her from her last appearance on our show. Please welcome back to the show, Brenda Martinez. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, thanks.
Great.
How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Awesome. Grateful. I'm on this side of the grass, right?
Right.
So I had to bring you on for this show because, of course, your extensive background in Reiki. I did it again. Reiki. I know. I'm that guy that does. They laugh at me because I do it all the time, and I don't know why. Because I try to read it in English, and it's not really a good English word.
It's a funky word.
It is. Someone's going to call me out because the last time we had you on, I played it off like, oh yeah, people call it Reiki, right? I can't play it off now. I done messed up for myself, but I had to have you on for this episode because who better to talk to about energy than you? So I guess I want to start this off by asking the question. A lot of people talk about energy vampires, but is that a really good way to describe what's happening? Are energy vampires real?
The answer is yes and no. And I'll add to that. Do we walk away sometimes from someone feeling depleted? Absolutely. Is that person intentionally doing that depletion? No. Are we intentionally letting them do that? No. And that's where the intention part comes full circle. What is our intention when we're interacting with someone else, and where are our energy levels when we're interacting with someone else?
Those are good points, because when you think of a vampire, it's somebody who does something on purpose, right? That's where it kept leading me to was, I don't think they do it on purpose. There might be a few out there that claim that they do it.
There's always, we have both spectrums of light and dark.
Mm-hmm.
In all of us. Some of us are closer to the light. Some of us are closer to the dark. We all walk a balance between the both. There are times that I'm going to be around somebody and their energy is so electrifying to me that I'm going to want to plug into it. And depending on where their boundaries are, is whether I am actually taking that energy from them, or if we're really working together in that energy to enrich each of our lives.
Those are great points, because what people call these energy vampires, I guess first, are they doing it on purpose? I would always tend to, like you, lean to the probably not. But people explain these experiences around these individuals. They seem to be constantly draining people with negativity or manipulation, or just this constant need for energy and attention. But I would
think of the narcissist.
Exactly.
That's that. But again, what boundaries are we as the individual setting up and being aware of to be in the presence of that person? If you know that someone drains your energy, what precautions, what exercises, what things do you do as an individual before you get in their presence or while you're in their presence?
Well, hopefully by the end of the day, we can give people some tools and some tactics for those people that they know. I love how you said that, because here we talk a lot about taking accountability for things, and especially accountability for the things that we have control of. We have responsibility to ourselves. We have a responsibility to others. So awareness is key to this. If you know these things are happening to you, and maybe, one or two times, okay, but you got to lock in when these things start happening to you. Especially if they're people that you may not have much of a choice to be around, like, if they're at work. So it's like, but also environments, speaking of work, can suck the marrow out of your bones, as I like to say. Yeah. Especially when they're toxic workplaces. We've all worked in places that just weren't good for us, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's many times that we're not even aware of how our energy may be low. You may have
Hmm.
not had enough sleep. You might not have eaten properly. You
Right.
might have, been on your phone or on the computer for so long, and then you come around someone that may not match your energy, and the next thing you know, you're feeling tired. Well, was it just that person, or was it all the factors that led up to that encounter with that person?
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people are content with the blinders. They feel that there's a lot of symptoms, a lot of signs, but we like to put the blinders on and we like to kind of just push through, push through, push through. We did a show not too long ago about burnout where Michael was calling me out the whole show. And I was sharing my experience with burnout. I mean, I'm starting to come out of that. But yes, you're absolutely right. It's like, we bring to the table what we bring. It's not always, high level. It's not always low level. It's not always good energy. I mean, sometimes I may bring bad energy to a space if I'm
Me as
not
well.
careful. If I'm not mindful of what I'm doing. And sometimes, it's better to just say, you know what, I would love to be there, but I'm not going to be there today, or I'm not going to come to work today, or I'm not going to do whatever it was that you plan to do. But these kind of places also drain us. Probably a really one that's pretty common are unhealthy relationships, or those places that we cohabitate with people who are toxic for us, or we're toxic for them.
I think it comes down to, I talk about this, that there's two things that come to mind here, but for that point there, it's boundaries. There's
Mm-hmm.
energetic boundaries, there's emotional boundaries, there's spiritual boundaries. And when we can be mindful of what our boundaries are, and I tell people all the time, boundaries aren't these things that are hand grenades and bombs. Boundaries are these energetic flows of where, if you know what you want, why you want it, what type of energy works great for you, then it's less likely that somebody else's energy is going to penetrate those boundaries. But if you are very loose on your boundaries, if you have no boundaries, you're going to be more susceptible to the people that quote unquote suck your energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And like I said,
exactly.
our last show, I'm a big component of radical responsibility.
Mm,
It's my responsibility to have those boundaries in a place. It's my responsibility to know what my energies are. And it's my responsibility if I'm around someone and my energy gets drained.
right.
It's not their responsibility. It's mine. And there are times, I'm human. It happens. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go out there and go, well, they're just an energy vampire. Well, what does that make me? An energy
Mm-hmm.
donor?
Right. Right. Prey. I'm prey to them.
Right.
I know all this stuff. I have all this knowledge, but I'm not applying it here. And sometimes people can sneak in, right?
Absolutely.
Psychologically, we allow ourselves to get emotionally exhausted, and that runs a toll on us. And that one's really sneaky because we're so used to just, living, and we're so used to expressing and being authentic. And sometimes that just drains you too. Or as you said earlier, people who are narcissistic or people who are very manipulative. So
And they exist,
they
you
do.
know. And
They
and
do.
we may not always have the forethought to put those quote unquote energetic boundaries up
Right.
prior. But if you start off in a place where, hey, I've got my boundaries put together, you're less likely to even be in contact with that type of person.
You brought this up earlier, this kind of unbalanced energy exchange. And in many traditions, interactions have this potential for these vastly uneven energetic exchanges. Can you just talk a little bit about how that works and how we would know, or could we know?
When you were talking about that, it made me think of law of attraction.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And if your energy is wonky, if your energy is all over the place, you're going to attract all over the place type of
Mm.
energy. But and I can remember being in my 20s, and yeah, that was the energy I attracted, because there was no control on any of the thoughts, any of the way that I presented myself to the world. So therefore, the world presented itself that way to me. But as I've gotten older, as I'm more aware of this, I may not always do it, but I've found that that wonkiness, that wonky energy of being in those situations rarely happens because it doesn't line up with who I am and what I've put into my life, the work that I've done.
Right.
So it takes work, you
It
know.
does.
Can we be susceptible as people? Absolutely. Can we not be? Absolutely.
And it takes that radical responsibility too, because you don't attract what you want or what you wish for. You attract what you resonate with, what you feel. That's what you get. And it sucks for most of us because we don't even know what we're feeling or what we're resonating out to the world. So especially if we're allowing ourselves to, have this chaotic state of affairs and it could
Think
be
of it
stuff.
too. What are the things that we ingest? What are you watching? What are
Mm-hmm.
you scrolling through? What are you focused on? What type of TV shows or reels or video games? All of those have a vibration to them. And our minds, our eyes, what comes into them doesn't know the difference between reality and not reality. Everything is reality.
Right. It is, whether we want it to be or not.
So it's being mindful of what you're ingesting. What are you looking at? What are you thinking? What are you focused on? Did you just watch a really crazy chaotic movie? Awesome. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But there are chances that that type of energy, if there was any type of emotion or any type of connection to it, that type of energy can show up in your life because of it. And it's not like, oh gosh, I can't watch any. It's again being mindful. Where is my energy at
Right.
while I'm doing this? What are my intentions with this? And that mindfulness is mindfulness, focus, awareness, all key words to going, what's coming into my life and what am I ingesting?
Yeah, it's something Michael's very, very passionate about. What does he call them? He calls them these digital Sabbaths, or he calls them something different. But he'll disconnect from social media, for example, when he starts to feel that agitation about things that are happening. Because there's plenty of muck out there. There's plenty of things that are trying to separate us, not just from each other, but from ourselves. And they just want us to just constantly scroll and scroll and scroll, and every scroll gets worse and worse and worse, unless you're listening to this show. But
Did you
but
know
but,
you
it,
can design
but
it too?
even too much of me, probably not great. You got to learn. You got to get outside. You got to touch the grass, right? So
Oh, yes.
you
Yeah.
got to stop watching me for a while and go watch Brenda. But
Or go outside and watch the leaves and the trees and
yeah,
the birds.
that's right.
But did you know that things like social media, your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, TikTok, whatever your vice is, those are customizable with your energetics as well.
Hmm.
What do you stop on? What are you paying attention to? What are you searching for?
Right.
Those are the things that are going to show up in your feed. Do I have very many things in my feed that are not pleasant? No, because I don't stop and I
Hmm.
don't focus on those things. Do I
Yep.
scroll endlessly sometimes? Yes. And then I feel the drain of that because my brain is like, hello.
Yeah.
But,
You got this
I
little
did that to
screen
myself.
flickering. Right. Right. I need glasses to look at my phone for too long. So if I don't have my glasses, my eyes will say, okay, that's enough. Because everything gets all fuzzy when I look away from it. I'm like, oh no, I went too far.
Well, to your
So,
point of getting outside before you go there, how many times do people go outside and feel the energetics of outside, especially if you live in a city?
right.
That I think that's where a lot of our empathy and our empathic nature comes in. I can tell you the difference of me living in Colorado Springs to the difference of me living in Northbrook, Colorado, just out of Buena Vista.
Hmm.
Two different energies. I go
Right.
back into Springs, I feel myself do and there's a bit more anger, there's a bit more angst, there's a bit more I got to get it done, it needs to go quick.
Right.
Whereas I come up here, my shoulders come down, I talk a little slower, I'm very much more interested in the birds in the sky and the trees and the colors. And it goes back to, like we were talking, what are we ingesting? And
Hmm.
sometimes we're not aware that that empathic nature that everyone has can be triggered by our environment.
Right. And for many of us, I know for me personally, and I know Michael would say for him too, when you have a lot of unresolved things, unhealed traumas, and you try to just ignore and ignore and ignore, truth is patient. It will wait for you, whether you're ready or not. And it's very difficult to start filtering out those things that you're talking about if you're constantly under attack, under barrage from. And we talk about radical responsibility. We didn't hurt ourselves, but it's our responsibility to fix ourselves. No one else is going
Amen.
to, as we talked
Yes.
about before. You actually inspired a topic that we did from that conversation we had, the three of us. We did a show on radical responsibility
I
and
saw
radical
that.
accountability.
Yeah.
And that kind of thinking is really in line with the path of Ashla, the path I teach, because again, we only should concern ourselves with the things that we can actually control. And a large portion of that is the stuff on the inside. And by controlling the things on the inside, that reverberates out and it will start to affect your environment too, in a good way, in a measured way, in a balanced way.
Absolutely.
So energy vampires, let's try to understand what people are talking about. And of course, for the sake of the show, I was looking at something metaphorical for the coming spooky season, right? And
Right.
vampires are fun. Everybody loves vampires. Nobody likes energy vampires in the circles I travel in. But the problem is, and we kind of alluded to this at the beginning, was that, people are too quick to point to, oh my God, that guy's an energy vampire. Oh my God, that lady's an energy vampire. It's become a word almost like narcissists. When there are true, horrible narcissists in the world, but not everybody knows what that actually is because most of us probably haven't dealt with that. But we watch too much TV and we watch too many TikToks and we say, oh, they're a narcissist. They're a narcissist because they might have some kind of, one or two markers of what is considered a narcissist. I think same with energy vampires. We just start
I agree.
calling them out, right? So, but really, I mean, what is an energy vampire in the sense of, you know, are they like we talked a little bit about it before, but are they doing this on purpose? Vampires feed on purpose, yeah, I get it. They have this unquenchable thirst and they have to, find scantily clad ladies to prey upon or something in all the movies I ever see, right? I'm not sure that's how it works in real life, but
So, yes, my answer to that is going to be likely is a percent, and I would think it is a small percent of our population that need other people's energy to amp them because they don't know how to have their own energy connected to their source.
mm,
They've pinched off that source energy so much that the only way to get energy is by attaching to someone else. And it's the someone else that allows them to attach that makes them not have to attach to their source.
you nailed it. I mean, we're just going to be saying the same thing over and over again, I think, together because you nailed it. Because from my perspective, heaven is connection, hell is disconnection. And when you're disconnected, whether that be spiritually, physically, mentally, energetically, emotionally, you're in hell. You are in hell. And it's really hard to do anything when you are in a state of disconnection. And I think a lot of these people are people that are this behavior isn't something that they choose to do, it's something for the ones that know how to do it. Of course, it comes from this pain and emptiness and this disconnection from
Exactly.
source, from the force as we call it. So when
Yes.
these people operate from this place of disconnection from the source, from their own inner light, from healthy patterns of giving and receiving, because they might really feel empty inside and they just can't ever fill up their vessel. So as you said, they attempt to fill that vessel by drawing water from other people's well.
And it's funny, there is also, if you look in the afterlife, we have earthbound spirits and then we have non-attached earthbound spirits. And I know there's a better word for that, but it's escaping me right now. But those that aren't quote unquote attached, so like mom, dad, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, those are generally earthbound spirits that we are helping energize by our thoughts and our actions. But those energies that have evolved from that, there are certain type of energies out there that will feed off of fear, will feed off of our disconnect in the same way that a living being would do. It's
Mm,
all energetics. We're
yeah,
all energetic beings.
right.
And there's also a term in the Akashic records that I read. Again, that one's escaping me too. But there are past life and there are energetics of when we're connected to our source, when we are in alignment with who we are, talking, the energetics of being connected, there is a much less like chance of anyone else feeding into that. But when we are not, when we are drained, when we're looking at outside objects for our comfort, our health, our entertainment, it allows that energy in.
You were talking about empathy earlier. I think this is why compassion is so important. Compassion for others, but compassion balanced with wisdom, right? Because we
Right.
can't allow ourselves to be consumed. We were talking about boundaries earlier. Cannot, because if I'm consumed, I can't serve anyone. I can't even serve myself at that point. So how important would you say compassion is for those who we know are just disconnected? How do we apply that to their situation?
What comes to my mind is there's a difference between compassion and enabling.
Mm-hmm.
Compassion is having an understanding of where this person is, understanding that their path has taken them here, and how can I empower them from my goodness in seeing their wholeness to bring them, instead of, oh, I'm going to bend over backwards. Oh, you poor thing. Let me give you everything I own. Oh, you don't sleep out in the car. I'll sleep out in the car. It's
Mm-hmm.
we have to take care of ourselves first because we are the center of our universe. And when our center of our universe is in alignment with our higher self and our lower self, we then can give from a place of overflow. But if we ourselves are empty and trying to give to someone else that's empty, it's an empty experience.
Yeah. Again, we attract what we resonate, what we feel. And, sometimes I just want to throw this in there. I just thought of this. Sometimes the person that's draining is in the middle of they're being drained. So they're trying to figure out how to recharge because they put themselves or they find themselves in a place or in a relationship or in a state of being where they're constantly draining too. So, being compassionate, as you said, but being compassionate with wisdom, erecting those boundaries and teaching them how to erect those boundaries too would be a good way.
And we're not taught. I mean, we're not taught
Hmm.
about how to fill ourselves up. I mean, there is not a fill yourself up 101 taught in school.
There
And
should
it's
be.
generally no, and it's your home
No, you
either.
usually have to pay a lot of money for classes like that when you're in your 30s.
Yeah, 30s or 40s,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you come to like, wow, I don't know how to do this. And, self-care, there is a whole different, I mean, we're taught, don't be selfish.
Yeah.
And we think self-care is being selfish,
Hmm.
when in truth, it's selfish not to practice self-care. And self-care isn't always a day at the spa. It
Right.
isn't always going and having a $50 dinner.
Hmm.
Self-care can be 5 minutes out of your day to meditate.
Yeah.
Self-care can be a hike in the woods or a hike around the park or a swing on the swing set,
Yeah. Read a
you
book.
know,
Yeah.
reading a
Whatever.
book, playing
Yeah.
with your kids,
Hmm.
dancing with your dog. I mean,
Hmm.
whatever the thing is that brings you into the present and brings you joy, because that joy and happiness is the thing that emanates. And if you're happy and joyful, how much energy is a vampire going to get from it? Are they attracted to happiness and joy? Are they attracted? They're going to be attracted, but they're less likely to be able to get it because they're on
Right.
a different vibration.
Right. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways here so far. It's, if they don't match if you don't have energy that they can match, it would be very difficult for them to get much, if anything at all, right?
Absolutely. And again, that's not something that we're always taught. So, those times that you're feeling less energetic, those times that you're feeling maybe angry or frustrated or whatever those lower vibration energies are, be mindful of who steps in, who's calling you,
Mm,
what video is showing up, what neighbor that is generally so nice is yelling at their kids.
mm,
And notice how that impacts your energy. And then a technique that I love from Reiki is Kineko. And it's taking your right hand on your left shoulder or your left hand or on your whichever. You start whichever direction you got. But hand on the shoulder, sweep it across your body.
mm,
Hand on your shoulder, sweep it across your body. And then sweep that energy off. But don't stop there. Be mindful. What do you want in your energy? I tell people, a lot of empaths that I work with, a good thing to do there is then put mirrors all the way around you. Put those mirrors first in so that it's absorbing your energy. You're feeling good. You're bouncing your energy off of you. And then point those mirrors out.
mm.
Now your energy is contained in here, and those mirrors are bouncing anybody else's energy off of them.
Wow, that's a good one. I hadn't heard that before.
I do that one sometimes when I go into grocery stores because I can be highly empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Just with the Reiki training I've had and then the dimension work that I do, I can tune into people very, very easily.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very good at my boundaries. I'm very good at being, this is my energy. I know
Right.
my energy. But there are times I've not slept. I've not
Mm-hmm.
eaten well. I've not done my meditation. I've not been for a walk. I've not done the things that fill me up. So I'm walking around as this empty vessel. And those energies go, let me help you fill that up. As soon as you realize it, whoa, okay, that's not my energy.
Yeah,
Take it
what is
off,
this, right?
put it out. Yeah.
So there's an axiom I want to share that ties into what we're talking about right now. And the axiom of light is decay comes from complacency. And this one's important because, again, this goes back to that radical responsibility. If we ignore these unhealthy things, these unhealthy dynamics, doesn't matter if it's a person, a relationship, a place, our bad moods, not sleeping or eating right. If we keep letting ourselves be drained this way, and we know it and we see it and we feel it, and we decide not to erect those boundaries for those people, places, or things, and when our spirit starts to kind of get mucky because of all that bad juju we're putting in or allowing in, we're not putting it there, we're allowing it. And things like fatigue grows into resentment, right? Or despair. Some people, if they do this for too long, I've seen that people even lose a sense of their identity sometimes, or they drop away from their purpose, or they drop away from things that brought them joy. So, awareness and action are how we keep these things away from us, one way or the other. And that's boundaries, of course, is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Something that just came to my mind while you were thinking about, while you were talking about, what if we are our own energy vampire?
Yeah.
What if we're the ones sucking the life out of ourselves? What if we're the ones by the things that we're ingesting and not doing, by not doing your meditation, by not doing the gratitude, by not getting out into nature, by not paying attention and being grateful for the things that are in our life? We're sucking the energy out of our own self.
I think that's probably more likely than not for a lot of us, simply because a lot of us don't do that inner work. Again, this goes back to not being taught how to do this stuff. We're really good at being taught on how to interact with society and these things that were built. We're very good at being domesticated, right?
Yes.
We're not great at understanding on a deeper level or on a necessary level these agreements that we make with the world and with other people and with ourselves, simply because no one taught us how to do introspection or, sit quietly. And I don't mean just, sit in stillness, sit at peace, no matter what's going on around you. And yeah, it takes a lot of practice. Some of us get it much earlier than others. It took me, I don't know if we talked about this on the show You're On With Us. Meditation was very difficult for me to learn. But once I got it, it was like, wow, I wish I'd been doing this the whole time, even as a little lad, you know what I mean? So, because it's so impactful and so powerful when you can sit in stillness in peace. And again, it's not, quiet means peace. Oftentimes it's been my experience that the most peaceful I've been is when it's been the loudest around me. So, because that's a thing that comes from within. Doesn't matter what they're doing. Doesn't matter what's going on. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that might be more the case than we think. We do a lot of stuff to ourselves. The greatest lie that's ever told us when we tell ourselves. We get ourselves locked into these stories, these fictions that we make up. And because we live in accordance to these stories that we've told ourselves too many times, now we start wearing disguises and masks and costumes instead of, really just being there, naked and afraid and waiting for, and having the strength and courage to say, this is what I am. It's who I am. I don't care what you think. It's really hard.
There's another fun act. Pardon me, I didn't mean to interrupt
Oh, no,
you
you're
there.
good. You're good.
That's a fun exercise that I will subscribe to people and even do myself, is telling a better story.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting down and doing the what if up game of, what if my day went fantastic? What if I have more than enough time to meditate? What if I get to and from everywhere I'm supposed to go today in record time? Or sitting down and going, I've had the best day. This was an amazing day. I did this, this, and this. And is that story true? I may have had the worst day. I may have had horrible things happen but sitting down and telling a different story, or sitting down and telling a story of how I would love my day to unfold. You do that enough, and it's amazing how the brain goes, oh, that's what we're doing. It doesn't know the difference between, again, fiction and nonfiction. And the key to that, those stories, telling a better story, it's from Abraham Hicks. She's the one that gave me that idea. But the premise is you get in and you tell that story to the point that you feel so good. And as soon as there's any slight resistance to that story, poof, you're out of the story. And you find that you can tell those stories longer and longer because there's a belief to them, because you start seeing the manifestations of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be in that non-resistant state. I had a great day. And if you go, well, no, I didn't, this, and this happened. Well, those are the things that you just listed that you're pulling right in. But if you can get into that fantasy world, and I'm an only child, so it's pretty easy, you could just start flowing with it. And it's amazing, that and gratitude, appreciating the good, the bad, and the other. I had this conversation with friends the other day about experiences. If you can look at every experience you've had in this lifetime, just like that as an experience. I experienced pain. I experienced hunger. I experienced joy. I experienced laughter. It was an experience. And I experienced my energy being drained. Okay. Did I like that experience? No. What story would I rather tell? What experience would I rather have?
Yeah, that goes back to resonance, right? When you can start to align yourself with the things that you truly want to desire, those things tend to show up like magic.
Yeah.
They really,
What
really
am I
do.
focused on?
And I had to, it's funny because when we did the show on resonance, I had to make sure I let everybody know I'm not picking on the law of attraction. I'm picking on how most of us practice the law of attraction, and we're not doing it right. We're not doing it good. Because because if you're not careful, if you say anything about the law of attraction that isn't, oh man, they light the torches and they come with the pickaxe or the pitchforks, and you start to feel like Frankenstein. So
I've
I
been
had to really make
a
sure, like,
student
listen,
of that for 20 years.
right. Well, a lot of popular culture was built up around things like The Secret.
Absolutely. There's so much more to it, though.
There is.
It's not this surface level, I think it and it's going to happen. I have to
Right.
think it. I have to feel it. I have to visualize it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make space and believe it. And then the hardest part of all of that, letting it go. I
It
have no
amazes me
attachment to it.
It amazes me how many people I talked to over the years about the law of attraction, especially when The Secret was really popular. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. I found it to be like a fun thing to watch. It was fun. And if you paid attention, you really could get a lot out of it. But And then of course there were the conversations around the water cooler or whatever, and people would always, they were super excited about it. Like, oh my, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But they would never, ever, ever mention the part about giving it to God, letting it go, walking away from it. You're right. Do your part and let the universe do the rest, because we
There's
can't possibly control all the things that have to move and have to shift and have to, right? And guess what? You know what? I don't want to be in charge of that. It's just too much crap to do,
Amen.
right? So,
I got
I
enough
got
things
other
with my
things
own
to
life that I
do,
can
right? Then move things around. I just want to put my intention out there. I want to put my heart and soul into it. I want to align with it. And by the way, that process of alignment makes it's a double check for me if I even actually want this thing, right? Because be careful what you wish for type stuff, right? So yeah, but nobody ever talks about the letting go. And that's that, like you said, that's the most important part. It's the hardest part.
It's the secret behind the secret.
Yes.
There's actually a video out there from Abraham Hicks about the secret behind the secret. Abraham was supposed to be in the secret. And as
Mm,
soon as she decided that she didn't want to put the word vibration into the
mm,
secret,
yeah.
Esther Hicks said, I can't be a part of that. But there was
Good
a
for her.
reason. I mean, we as a society weren't ready
Hmm.
for vibration at that
Right.
point in time. We are now at a point, we have evolved so much in the last 20 years that vibration is a buzzword
Right.
instead of a taboo word.
Is it
And
more of
if you think,
a buzzword than quantum? I hear that everywhere I go.
no, no,
Quantum.
quantum's now huge. When you start talking about quantum physics, everybody gets excited, and then they said, well, like, we don't want to put physics in there. Let's just go quantum.
Right. Right.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I know. I try to, with this podcast, with my other works, I really try to dispel many of the things that are now just buzzwords. We just offhandedly say them, and it's just, people like, I probably shouldn't say this, and I may take this out because I don't want the pitchforks. But like Deepak Chopra, for example, as a kid, I loved his work.
Me too.
It's very inspiring and stuff. But then, like, this book talked about quantum, and then like several books after that, it's like the publishers just forced that word into every sentence, and it's just like
The new one, well, along with quantum now, is portal. Everything's a portal.
portals. Yes, there's an
You know,
portal. You know, like not hearing the word astral for so long. Like I was like, oh, thank God that word can rest and regain its true meaning, right? Because everything was astral, astral this, astral that, and if you actually looked for people to connect with over these buzzwords, people would think you're crazy because of all the stuff that has now been associated with it.
well, it's no different than energy vampire.
Yes,
Energy
exactly, and
vampire
that's
has been a
exactly
big buzzword for many. There are books about it. There's
right.
podcasts about it. There, and the key to all of that, though, is how awesome is it that the awareness, even if these things are buzzwords, there are people that are catching on to the
Hmm.
energetics behind these things.
Yeah.
And there's so much information that if you can trust your boundaries and trust your energetics, finding the things that resonate with you,
Hmm.
and what resonates with me may not resonate with someone else, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And if
Right.
quantum is what brings them into resonance
Mm.
with something that you or I say, or someone that they admire says, awesome. But it's the commercialism that's behind it. It's the capitalism that's behind it
Yeah.
that gets disheartening as someone that is aware.
Yes, and I mean, at the end of the day, that's why shows like this exist. Having you on, especially for this episode about energy vampires, we have this kind of conversation that dispels the myths around it. And yes, we do burn out. Yes, we get the life force sucked out of us, or we give it away, or. But if the word energy vampire helps wake them up to what's happening to them, I mean, at the end of
Beautiful.
the day, who am I? I don't actually care what words they use, to be honest with you. My job is to help them understand what these things really mean. And maybe I'll learn something from them. too. So yeah, I mean, the meanings of the word may have been, some of the meaning may have been lost over time and overused to the point where, people use them in ways they're not supposed to anymore, or they shouldn't. I shouldn't say supposed to, but shouldn't, because they don't, I don't think that word means what you think it means type thing. But that's why when these things happen in our presence, we have to say, okay, that's cool. I love astral projection too. What does that actually mean to you? And then we have these conversations where we actually come to an understanding, where I get to know them better, they get to know me better, and somewhere in the middle, we come to an understanding of what astral projection actually is, for example, or quantum.
I love that sentence.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Yeah.
What does energy, to your audience, what does energy vampire mean to you? Look at it. Look at that definition that you've come up with. What are your beliefs behind that definition? What are your experiences behind that definition? And is that something that feels good to you? Awesome. If it's not, awesome. Because both of those give you information as to what you might want to take action on from there. And having conversations where you can ask someone else, what does this mean to you? Like you said, then you have the opportunity to learn and maybe explore something that even you hadn't thought of.
Exactly. Growth doesn't happen in these echo chambers, right? They happen out in the wild. That's where they happen, through experience. And it just necessarily mean go talk to your local grizzly bear, but talk to as many people as you're comfortable with talking to.
Discernment.
In your case, you might have trouble finding people now that you're out there in the. I'm still in the spring, so when I want to get away, I just go up to Monument or a little past that.
Well, I have a great network of friends and whatnot in this whole world that I get to have these beautiful conversations with. To your point, though, having these conversations, discernment is a key in that as well. You're not going to talk to your electrician about your plumbing.
Right.
Why would you talk to your grandmother who is completely Catholic or whatever about quantum physics?
Right.
You find the people that at least have an understanding, a concept of it, so that there is an intelligible conversation
Right.
with it, instead of just being met with this force against what you're saying and coming away feeling like that was not a conversation. Having conversations, being discerning of who you're having the conversation with, is just as important as having the conversation.
Yeah, no, you're right. I just always caution people about there's too much agreement sometimes. There's too much of it. If
That's
you're out
true.
of balance, because if all of you are wrong and somebody doesn't break that illusion and say, hey guys, I went out there, it's crazy, but I learned something and I want to share it with you guys. If they're not willing to listen, nope, we live in our little box and it's not good for them either. So, but discernment is very important, especially along the path that we teach here. Discernment is one of the keys to wisdom, because like you said, I'm not going to talk to a plumber about, how to get to the moon or something. I'm not going to do that. They may know something about it and we could have a fun conversation about it, but try to have these conversations with people and I'm not saying go out and fight with people who are, exact opposite of you, but do your best to try and let yourself hear things and experience things that make you uncomfortable, little by little, if you need to. Now I can walk into a middle of a whatever, and it could be something I don't even associate with at all, but I can listen to it without being crushed by it, because it's like, well, I have a lot of compassion, but I also have a lot of empathy, but I also have a lot of discernment, and I have a lot of these things where it's like, I don't need to agree with somebody to learn from them. In other words, at the end of the day.
Oh, amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. I think that's a cocktail. It's a cocktail of the discernment, the curiosity, the compassion, the empathy, the willingness to be quiet, to hear what someone else has to say, and then form your response instead of having a reaction to it.
Responding, not reacting. Yeah.
Which is sometimes easier said than done.
It's so hard to do. No, it's so hard to do. If you've ever had kids, anybody who's had kids understands that Because like if I'm at the workplace, for example, and I have somebody that's picking on another coworker, I can kind of get in there and say, hey guys, let's not do this. Let's talk about this. Let's figure this out, whatever. But if someone messes with your kid, what happens? You go
You
rage
become that
monster.
mama bear that we were talking about.
Right. Yes. You don't, there's no discernment there. There's no, you want to murder, death, kill because that's your baby.
You're messing with my baby.
Even when they're in their 30s, they're your baby. Yeah. So what are some good practical things we could do to kind of protect ourselves from these things?
Protection. That's such an interesting word to me.
It
I've
is.
gone on the spectrum of protection, the quote unquote protection.
Mhm.
I have come to the place where I do not believe that I am in need of protection from anything.
Right.
I will set protection or boundaries to preserve my own energy. And if I'm coming from a place that I need to be protected from something, that's an outside force pushing in on my energy. And there is no such thing in my universe.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, doesn't mean I have those thoughts, doesn't mean that I'm not human and it goes there. But when I am in my awareness, when I am in my right mind, I know that there is nothing that I need to be protected from, because what I have inside of me is that protection, is that boundary, is that beautiful bubble.
Mm.
Doesn't mean that I don't call on, say, Archangel Michael or God Spirit Universe, my guardian angels. Those are energetics that I believe intertwine with my energy to up level my energy, that thus up levels what I come in contact with.
Right. What about those basic kind of day one things that we learn, not at school, of course, we should be, but like those basic shielding or grounding or clearing exercises or techniques or whatever you want to call them? Are those good to?
Grounding, love. Grounding. Grounding can happen when you eat.
Mm-hmm.
Grounding can happen by taking your feet and putting them on the earth. Grounding can happen by your hands in the soil, by touching a tree, breathing air, being mindful of the air going into your lungs. Those are some grounding practices. Just being out in nature and being mindful of it. What were some of the other things that you said?
Clearing, energy
Clearing.
clearing.
Okay.
Yep. I think you talked kind of
So,
about that, about
yeah,
the
kind of that.
yep, the
That is
wipe
one of
off
my
method there.
favorites.
What do they
Another
call it?
one is
You know?
the what? The Hoff method.
Yeah, yeah. You just kind of like.
Kenyenko. It's a Japanese word. From my understanding, it was in all my Reiki books. But what I've heard, and I don't know if it's true. Donna Eden, she's an energy expert. What I've heard is she is one of the originators of that whole taking off.
Mm-hmm.
But cleansing can be just as simple as your mind going, I release everything that's not mine. I release energies that are no longer serving me. I release this connection that I have to this person, place, or thing in allowance of my own energy to come in.
Yeah.
We are such powerful creators, and we forget that we don't need somebody else's permission or somebody else's help to cleanse, to move energy from our own bodies. You are the authority of your life.
Mm-hmm.
What you think matters. That very word, think into matter. Think into something happening. There is a substance to that. And that clearing can happen just by going, I disconnect from that. I release it. I dissolve it. I move it through my body, bringing it from the top of my head down to the bottom of my toes.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation, awareness, mindfulness. Those are all things that can work in your favor. Being aware that your energy is drained.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to do? What can I self-care with to revamp my energy?
Yeah. There's a lot of good
And is
renewal practices as you're talking about.
that word that I just said, revamp, vampire?
Yeah. Yeah. Now we're coming after you. See, you were sucking the life out of us. Now we're going to flip it around. Uno reverse card.
right?
Here we come.
I was like, ooh, vamp. Yeah. So how do you revamp instead of vampiring yourself?
Hmm.
How do you vamp yourself? How do you bring that energy into you
Nice.
instead of giving your energy away?
And I'm glad you brought up this isn't about like paranoia, right? Or trying to control the things that are happening around us, because of course that's not our business. It's not our concern. We can't control it anyway, right? But these kind of practical things that we do, whether it's the shielding or the grounding or the renewal or the shaking off, right? The cleansing, it's more about cultivating good practices that build up resilience so that we can walk into any place or face any person or any being, I should say, and still remain
Yeah.
authentically whole, right? So I'm glad you really brought that up, because I think there needs to be a distinction between being fearful, which puts cracks in your energy and in your being, really too much of that, and being cautious and resilient.
Yeah.
I love prayer. I think we talked about this before. I love prayer, affirmative prayer, as a good way to deal with my energy and kind of level things out. Of course, meditation is a great one. And so it's funny because you said become aware. As we've come to accustom here, I like to give them journal prompts. So the first journal prompt I have for you guys is being aware of the drain, right? When was the last time I walked away from someone or something feeling empty, tired, or heavy? What part of me was most affected? And was it the mind, the body, my heart, my spirit? Sit with yourself and journal that out and see what you come up with. Don't judge it, just be aware. Talked a lot about boundaries today, so I have one for that. Boundaries and responsibility. Where in my life have I allowed my light to be drained by not setting clear boundaries? When I think of the person or situation that drains me, can I see the pain beneath their behavior? How can I hold compassion without sacrificing my boundaries? I have one for an inner reflection. Am I ever the one who drains others? Where in my life have I taken instead of given? And how can I restore balance with grace and generosity? And the last journaling prompt I have today: what daily practices, prayer, breath work, Reiki, journaling, etc., keep my energy whole, keep me good? How will I commit to using them this week? So it's funny, I pre-wrote the journaling prompts, as I always do, but through our conversation, we literally touched on every single one of those by accident, by total accident. So
The
that was cool.
divine.
By divine grace, yes. So do you have any final thoughts or final words for our viewers and listeners today about this topic?
Yeah, let me think about that.
Sure.
Like we have really touched on everything that could be touched on. I think, yeah, just bringing in mindfulness, discernment, compassion, empathy, and an awareness of if you know where your energy starts and stops, you are going to be more aware of where somebody else's energy moves into yours. And if you can be aware of those two factors, of your energy for one, you're going to know if someone else's energy is uplifting or impeding on your energy. So the key is know thyself.
Thyself. I love a lot of the things that could save us in totality in this world are often the most simple things. Know thyself. We just really make it complicated, don't we?
Isn't that part of the funness of being down here on this 3D Earth
It
fluid
is.
kind of thing?
It is part of the fun. I don't remember wanting so much fun, but here I am having lots of fun. But
I read.
that's right. Hey, I may not be here for a long time, but I'm here. So how does it go? I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time.
Yeah. And if I'm not sliding into first base with mud and dirt on my face and my shins, am I doing it right?
Right. Exactly. So today we've really explored kind of this reality of energy drains, and these things aren't myths. We had fun with the myth of the vampire and things like that. And if you still describe them as that, you're great. You're fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. So we've talked about how to kind of become aware of them. We've talked about how to become more resilient against them. We've talked about how to deal with this compassionately, empathetically, but radically responsibly, right? Well, I'm using a lot of Lee's words here. But so anyways, but the truth is every interaction is an exchange of energy. Every single kind of, it doesn't mean they're bad, doesn't mean they're good. It's just, You are exchanging energy. We have exchanged so much energy today doing this show, and we're exchanging energy with you in a way too. So, but the way of light calls us to be responsible, to tend to our own light, our own flame, and try not to take from others, or and to walk in respect so that we don't allow ours to be consumed. So such a great conversation today. I knew you were the
Also,
right one for the job. Plus I've been itching to get you back on the show because I had so much
awesome.
fun the last time. So, but
Same. So thank you for having me back. This was
of course, what's going on at Soul Deep Life? Are you really busy? You just jobbing it really hard lately?
actually things have actually been pretty. I don't want to say slow, but slower than they were earlier in the year. And there's a lot of energies that are happening around the world right now
Yeah.
that are contributing to that. But I am also in the midst of creating some new modalities for myself and my clients. And that too has that pause kind of
Hmm.
energy on it. I've had some things break through. Today was one of them, and I'm restructuring my business as a whole. So it's kind of fun. The one new offering I do have is called Key Traits,
Hmm.
and it's instead of looking at the things that are wrong with us, those emotions that are trapped, it's what traits are you not embracing that would benefit you greatly to embrace.
Mm. Yeah, this is a year of rebuilding for I think a lot of us, which is interesting. Kind of not stripping away all of the old foundation, but really, really just taking a good look at it and filling in the cracks and making sure that we can build again off of this. We're certainly doing that over here. Our website is up and it's slowly getting more stuff in there. Brenda's over there, if you check it out on our Soulful Connections page, so you can connect with her and all her offerings and stuff. So thank you so much again. I love spending time with you this way. I wish Michael could have been here,
Me too, but
but
this worked out great.
yeah, no, it's okay. I'm gonna tease him a little bit later. Say you missed it. You missed the greatest show ever, and I'm gonna block you from listening to it so you can't hear it. But thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you coming in. And until next time, with love and gratitude, ad lucem.